Hello and welcome to Adapt Radio. I'm Dr. Claire O'Connell, and today we're talking about how AI can help people with mobility issues.
From the Adapt Centre at Trinity College, this is Adapt Radio, presenting groundbreaking innovations, one conversation at a time.
Now, many of us will be familiar with voice-activated software, including the devices that we ask about the weather, or to turn on the radio, or maybe even listen to this podcast. But could a voice-enabled AI act as a companion in your home and help you to live independently if you have mobility issues? Joining us today is someone who's developing a technology to do just that. Rebecca McManus is an entrepreneur, and she's the commercial lead of Amethyst Care, a startup that's spinning into Trinity College Dublin to work with Adapt, developing generative AI voice technology to help people with mobility issues. Rebecca, you're very welcome to the programme.
Hi Claire, thanks so much for having me on this morning. It's great to speak with you.
So tell us a little bit more about this technology that you're developing at Amethyst Care.
Yeah, so I suppose this has been a project that's very close to my heart. So I was a caregiver for both parents before they sadly passed away over the years. So I suppose the reason I got into this space was because I saw there was problems with caregivers and patients living at home. And there was, a definite gap in the market with solutions to help people care for people at home as well. So this is something very close to my heart. It's a passion project I've been working on for quite a while. So what we are building is a voice technology companion that helps care for older people at home, keeping them independent for longer. I suppose initially when we started this, we were looking at automating processes in the home, and that was a couple of years ago in terms of, if you automated a process in terms of medication reminders and things like that. But, as you know, the world has changed so much in the last couple of years to do with the likes of AI and ChatGPT and all of that. So what we're focused on now is really leveraging artificial intelligence and large language models in order to build out a really innovative solution to help care for people at home.
And so it sounds like there's a lot of tech going on here. If I am a person living at home using this technology, can you explain to me how I would set it up and interact with it?
Yes, absolutely. So the reason we are focused on the voice technology side of things is, the market is saturated when it comes to tablets, iPad, things like that for older people. And what we found is a lot of older people might have issues with their sight, or they might have mobility related illness. So if you look at a disease like, say arthritis or Parkinson's disease, using your hand to use a tablet or a mobile phone might be quite challenging for someone. So that's the reason, we're focused on the voice technology side of things, because it's much easier to use for most people. An example of this would be, Claire, if you were at home, our solution would check in with you and say, "Hi Claire, how are you feeling today?" And you'll say you're good, you're bad, unwell, you're sick, whatever it is. It's able to track that data and interpret it. And based on how you respond, say it's a negative response, for instance, it would say, "Okay, you're not feeling well today, Claire. Do you want me to let Rebecca know you're not feeling well?" And that would prompt me to check in with you. Also, what we are focused on is medication compliance. So did you remember to take your 9 a.m. medication? If not, can you take it now? So it's relatively simple, but what we're trying to do is replicate a caregiver in the home using voice-enabled technology.
Very good. And, in terms of, you mentioned there that it might ask me how I'm doing and alert people if I'm maybe not doing so well, feeling a bit under the weather. What else? What other kinds of things can it do? Like, can it detect if I have kind of an urgent problem?
So what we are focused on, and this is, I suppose, the really meaty part of the research project, is we will have types of questions and assessments in the solution that would help notice early signs potentially of any cognitive issues. So it would be about regular intervention, asking people lots of questions on a more regular basis. So I suppose what we're trying to achieve with the project is early signs of cognitive decline in older people. So that's really what the research side of things is focused on.
And is that based on the answers that people give, or are you able to tell things by the nature in which they're talking, or the tone of voice or anything like that? Does it dig into those elements?
Potentially. So at the moment, we will be focused more on the responses that a person gives. The tone of voice is something that's very interesting to us, and it's something we definitely will be exploring in the coming months within the project.
So I mentioned that you're spinning into Trinity, and the company is led by Professor Vinnie Wade, who is Chair of AI at Trinity School of Computer Science and Statistics. And of course, Vinnie is a former director of the ADAPT Research Centre. So how will you be working with ADAPT to bring the technology forward through that kind of research?
Yeah, so I suppose I met Vinnie over a year ago now, I think. So we had a meeting, we really connected. We were very much aligned in language we were speaking when it comes to, Gen AI and, the type of technology you could potentially build with it. So very fortunate that Vinnie was very much bought into the concept of the project. So we decided to partner together and work together within ADAPT. So back in April of this year, we received €530,000 from Enterprise Ireland, and that was with the Com Fund. So a lot of work went into getting that funding. But we have that now, and we're in a fortunate place now where we are building the team. So we're currently doing interviews at the moment. So we're trying to build our core team. So we'll be hiring a full stack developer, an AI researcher, a quality lead, and a clinical lead on the project as well. So we're currently recruiting for those roles, doing interviews at the moment, and hoping to have the full team together in the next month or so is the goal.
Brilliant. And it sounds like you have a lot of aspects covered there, the AI and of course the clinical aspects. What about people like caregivers and people themselves with mobility issues? Are you working with them to try and figure out what their needs are?
Yes, we are, very much so. So it's very important to us that it's not us coming up with a great idea and hoping it sticks and it works for people. So we're very much have caregivers, people with mobility related illness working with us in terms of the project and what the technology would look like. So there's been a lot of work done today to make sure that we're building a solution that works for everybody. So we have some really exciting pilot partners lined up for early next year. So we have a couple of partners in Ireland that will be kicking off pilots in probably February, hopefully. We have a lot of pilot partners lined up in the US actually for next year, which is very, very exciting to us, especially because we're an early stage startup project. So we have a lot of pilot partners lined up in Ohio, in the US.
And tell me about how you'll work with those partners to run those pilots. What will those pilots look like?
So I suppose we're going to be targeting different types of pilot partners. For example, one would be assisted living groups. Again, they're not so big here in Ireland, but in the US, there'd be lots of assisted living groups, like the likes of Florida, they would have a huge community of people in those environments. So assisted living, private home care groups, the likes of health insurance companies as well. And again, that might be more focused in the US side of things because they have the likes of Medicaid and Medicare. So there's some examples of the types of customers that we're speaking with at the moment.
So in the assistive technology space, we're starting to see a lot more solutions coming in. How does Amethyst Care stand apart from other voice-assisted technologies? What's different about you?
Again, great question. So when we initially, we did some pilots and we built our solution using an Alexa device initially, which most people are familiar with. So we kind of prototyped our solution using an Alexa skill, which is just using the Alexa technology. What we found with that technology was that an Alexa is not actually having a real conversation with you, if that makes sense. So it's not learning about you. You're setting rules up for it. So you're setting up timers and you're setting up rules, but it's not really learning about you. So essentially that's an automated process. Whereas what we're really trying to do is build a solution that's going to learn about each person in the home. And that's all going to be done through our Gen AI that we're creating in the product. So it'll be learning about a person's patterns, trends over time, things like that. So that's how we're really unique.
Okay, that's so it sounds like you're sort of the way that a human caregiver or a human companion would learn about somebody over time naturally, you're looking to replicate that with an AI.
Absolutely. And what's important to highlight is that we're not trying to replace face-to-face care, because face-to-face care is so important. Real relationships with people are so important. It's not about that. As you know, Claire, the population is rapidly aging, and that's across the globe. So by 2030, I think 25% of the population will be over the age of 65. So significant. And as we know, lots of problems in Ireland in healthcare, lack of resources, lack of caregivers and nurses and beds. And, there's all of these problems. So what we're trying to do is not replace face-to-face care, but have technology coincide with face-to-face care to help give back resources to other people who might need it.
Right. So it complements it. It's like almost like an extra safety net around the person.
Yeah, that's absolutely it. Because, people are always going to need relationships with people. So what we found is there's a lot of people that are living alone at home that don't have any face-to-face care, or that don't have any relationships and they're completely alone, or, might be every couple of weeks that they see someone. So what we're really trying to do is have a tool there to not replace, but to fit in with that life, so you can coincide face-to-face care with a virtual caregiver, to help bridge that gap.
Great. And obviously, when somebody is sharing information with an AI and when the AI is collecting information, maybe about things, as you say, maybe in the future, things around things like tone of voice, etc. A lot of that can be quite sensitive health related information. So what kind of protections are in place to make sure that information is, gets to where it needs to go and can't be lost along the way or intercepted in a way that might not be good for the person?
Yeah, absolutely. So none of the data will be shared with anybody. It'll all be anonymized data. So there's no risk of people that aren't supposed to see the data to see the data. There's certain settings where, for example, if it's in a clinical setting, where it's a healthcare provider that sets up the patient, they will have access to the data. But that's the way that would be set up, so the data won't be shared with anybody that it shouldn't be shared with. So if it is a case of, like in certain settings, I have an assisted living partner in Ohio. They have about 800 people that live within their facility, but they will be the ones that will be going in and setting up that for each individual patient. But again, we have our whole GDPR strategy there for, when we're in the EU. And then we have our different strategies then when we're focused on the US around like the HIPAA compliance and all of that.
And talk to me about how healthcare providers are feeding back to you on this emerging technology. Are they excited about it? Is it going to benefit them as well?
Yes, big time. It's so funny because, a few years ago, like let's say 5 years ago, you talk to people about AI. It was a buzzword. It was something that people had in their strategies, and it was this exciting thing that, a lot of people didn't know much about. But in the last year, it's really taken off. So when you're talking about AI now, you're talking about solutions have AI now, or they're building it into their products for early next year or next year. So it's just such an exciting time to be a part of it. So there is concerns around it, so obviously some people are confused and they're like, where does this fit in? Is this safe? And you have to have all those kind of filters and a clear strategy there as to how to, use AI in an ethical way, and that's something that we'd be focused on. But the likes of a lot of our US partners are really excited about this. I think, in the States, there's less regulations when it comes to AI. In Europe and the EU, I think we're more strict on that type of technology. But in the US, I think they're definitely more open to innovative technologies like that. So the people I've been speaking with over there are very excited. And any of our pilot partners are in a unique position with us because we're developing the technology right now. Their input can be built into the solution. It's not like a product that's, fully fleshed out and it's on the market. A customer's not going to be able to give too much of an input there. But with our pilot partners, we're hoping they can help co-create the product with us. And, whatever their feedback is, we can implement the technology.
So that it almost becomes a platform for this person's kind of the mosaic of this person's health data that can, that the healthcare providers can use it to sort of build a bigger picture of how this person is getting on in the home?
Yes. So like what you'll probably find, with yourself in healthcare, everything is so scattered, so say, for example, like you have your physiotherapist that you go to once a month, then you have your GP that you see every 6 months, and then you have someone else that you go to see, and it's all siloed. So really it's about creating a slightly more accurate picture of someone's overall healthcare on a more regular basis. So if you go to your neurologist once a year, for example, because that's, how often the appointments can be sometimes, they go, how have you been feeling? And in the last month, I've been feeling good. So I'm going to tell them I've been feeling good. I'm not going to tell them that I've been feeling bad the last 11 months because you're more focused on how you are now in the moment. Whereas if you were to go to your neurologist, once a year and you had an accurate picture of the last 12 months, that would give someone much better information about you in order to make accurate decisions about your health.
Yeah. Absolutely. It's a good point. All those kind of those silent data points, if they're not recorded, then we just kind of forget about them, don't we? And I'm just imagining how people could almost kind of make, become pals with their AI. Will they get to give it their own name, etc.?
Yeah, I was actually only thinking this literally a few weeks ago. I thought that's actually a really interesting idea. I'd love to do that, actually. I think it just depends. Like, you have to do the whole ethical review side of things. So you'd have to ask, is that ethical? In case, I don't know if you've ever watched Black Mirror, but there was like a Black Mirror episode about something like this before. So we want to avoid anything like that.
Any unintended consequences, exactly.
Yeah,
just calling your AI Henry or something. Yeah.
Yeah, like
good stuff.
Passed away or something. I think that needs to... That needs to be, we need to flesh that out a bit more to make sure that that's ethical. But I think it's a great idea.
Yeah. No, you do need to tread carefully in this area. You mentioned there, obviously AI and Gen AI are exploding, I suppose. So how will you keep up with the changing times? Because things are happening so fast in the field.
Yes, so fast. And I suppose I think now is the time. So we're very much like strike while the iron is hot. AI is really taken off now. So that's why we're doing it now. It's not in our strategy for next year. It's not in our strategy for 2 years' time. Like we're doing it right now. So I think we are ahead of the curve in that sense. Because a lot of people are just, this is something they're talking about building into their products, whereas we're doing it right now, which is the main thing. Also, the whole side of AI, like no one's going to be able to keep up with it in a way. It is evolving so fast. I don't think anyone's going to fully keep up with it because it's just going to change and evolve over the coming years. So I think it's just really important that it's something that you're looking at today is the main thing. The AI side of things can be used to help build technologies as well. In a way, it's easier to code for some people because of those technologies. So it's just about staying up to date with everything, looking at the market, looking at what other products are doing, or not even that, but like what you hear through the grapevine, like what projects do you hear are being worked on, through people, and just trying to stay aware of what's going on so you're not shocked when a product comes on the market.
Yeah, absolutely. And seeing as how we're thinking about the future, tell me about the future roadmap for Amethyst. Where do you see this going? You're going to be starting pilots next year. What's your trajectory here? So what we're doing is at the moment, so recruitment is the main thing that we're focused on just in the immediate. So that's literally today and this week and the rest of the month. So we want to get a really good team in place. That's the most important thing, because at the end of the day, anyone can build a product, right? But it's really about getting the core team that's really invested in the vision. It's also about helping people, so it's not, you can work for fintech companies and their products that help people that have money, make more money and save money and all of that. But, obviously we will help save money too, but we want to find people that are invested in they want to help people and they want to build a solution that's going to change the world, So I want people to have that vision about them. So that's the focus for this year. What we need to do is for early next year, we need to get things like our FDA approvals, our HIPAA compliance so we can work in the States.
We will have to get a medical device classification as well for early next year. So there's some of the focus areas that we have for early next year. And then let's say by March 25, we should be having our pilots up and running. So our main markets for the pilots will be focused in Ireland. So we have a few pilot partners lined up in Ireland, and then we have a lot of pilot partners lined up in Ohio in the US. So we have really good relationships with Mentor, the city of Mentor in Ohio. So we're going to be very much focused on building that relationship further. We have about 8 pilot partners lined up there, which is significant. And, some of those clinics, like the Veterans Association is one. We have an assisted living group that has about 800 beds. So it's pretty exciting what we have lined up for next year. We want to, so I suppose getting our certifications so we're compliant. Our license to sell effectively is what that is. So we can commercialize the business. And then also what I'm doing is building investor pipeline. So we'd be looking to raise about 4 million for when we spin out in February 2026. That will be my focus really in the next 12 months is building that pipeline and having that money in the bank for when we can spin out. And we're also looking at getting some office space in Ohio as well. So I think that's where we will be based in the US.
And where can people find out more, Rebecca?
So you can go onto our website. So that's www.amethystcare.ie, or you can contact myself, Rebecca McManus, on LinkedIn.
Brilliant. Good stuff. Well, we wish you all the best with it. And thank you, Rebecca from Amethyst Care, for joining us today. If you'd like to find out more about Adapt's research in this area, you can find lots of information in the show notes at www.adaptcentre.ie. That's it for our podcast this time round. Until next time, from myself, Claire O'Connell, Slán, and thanks for listening.
The Adapt Radio podcast is brought to you by the Adapt Centre at Trinity College Dublin. Find out more about their extensive research work at adaptcentre.ie. Join us next time to hear about more groundbreaking innovations. To get new episodes automatically, just click the follow button on your player right now. The Adapt Radio podcast is produced by dustpod.io, with episodes monthly on Apple, Spotify, and wherever you get your podcasts.